Congratulations. The fact that you're reading this means you've taken one giant step closer to surviving to your next birthday. Yes, you standing there leafing through these pages. Do not put this book down. I'm dead serious. Your life could depend on it. This is my story, the story of my family, but it could just as easily be your story too. We're all in this together, trust me on that. I've never done anything like this, so I'm just going to jump in and you try to keep up. Okay, I'm Max. I'm 14. I live with my family, who are 5 kids, not related to me by blood, but still totally my family. We're kind of amazing, not to sound too full of myself, but we're like nothing you've ever seen before. Basically, we're pretty cool, nice, smart, but not average in any way. The 6 of us, me, Fang, Iggy, Nudge, the Gas Man, and Angel, were made on purpose. By the sickest, most horrible scientists you could possibly imagine. They created us as an experiment. An experiment where we ended up only 98% human. That other 2% has had a big impact, let me tell you. We grew up in a science lab/prison called the school. In cages. Like lab rats. It's pretty amazing we can think or speak at all. But we can, and so much more. There was one other school experiment that made it past infantry. Part human, part wolf, all predator. They're called erasers. They're tough, smart, and hard to control. They look human, but when they want to, they're capable of morphing into wolf men, complete with fur, fangs, and claws. The school uses them as guards, police, and executioners. To them, we're 6 moving targets, prey smart enough to be a fun challenge. Basically, they want to rip our throats out and make sure the world never finds out about us. But I'm not lying down just yet. I'm telling you, right? This story could be about you, or your children. If not today, then soon. So please, please take this seriously. I'm risking everything that matters by telling you. But you need to know. Keep reading, and don't let anyone stop you. Max and my family. Fang, Iggy, Nudge, the Gas Man, and Angel. Welcome to our nightmare. The funny thing about facing immediate death is that it really snaps everything else into perspective. Take right now, for instance. Run! Come on, run! You know you can do it. I gulped deep lungfuls of air. My brain was on hyperdrive. I was racing for my life. My one goal was to escape. Nothing else mattered. My arms being scratched to ribbons by a barrier I'd run through? No biggie. My bare feet hitting every sharp rock, rough root, pointed stick? Not a problem. My lungs aching for air? I could deal. As long as I could put as much distance as possible between me and the erasers. Yeah, erasers. Mutants half men, half wolves, usually armed, always bloodthirsty. Right now, they're after me. See? That snaps everything into perspective. Run! You're faster than they are. You can outrun anyone. I'd never been this far from the school before. I was totally lost. Still, my arms pumped by my sides. My feet crashed through the underbrush. My eyes scanned ahead anxiously through the half-light. I could outrun them. I could find a clearing with enough space for me to... Oh no. Oh no. The unearthly baying of bloodhounds on the scent wailed through the trees, and I felt sick. I could outrun men. All of us could, even Angel. And she's only 6. But none of us could outrun a big dog. Dogs, go away! Let me live another day. They were getting closer. Dim light filtered in through the woods in front of me. A clearing? Please, please. A clearing could save me. I bursted through the trees, chest heaving, a thin sheen of cold sweat on my skin. Yes! No! Oh no! I skidded to a halt, my arms waving, my feet backpedaling in the rocky dirt. It wasn't a clearing. In front of me was a cliff. A sheer face of rock that dropped to an unseeable floor, hundreds of feet below. In back of me were woods filled with drooling bloodhounds and psycho erasers with guns. Both options stank. The dogs were yelping excitedly. They found their prey. Moi. I looked over the deadly drop. There was no choice, really. If you were me, you'd have done the same thing. I closed my eyes, held out my arms, and let myself fall over the edge of the cliff. The eraser screamed angrily, the dogs barked hysterically, and then all I could hear was the sound of air rushing past me. It was so dang peaceful. For a second, I smiled. Then, taking a deep breath, I unfurled my wings as hard and fast as I could. 13 feet across, pale tan with white streaks and some freckly-looking brown spots. They catched the air, and I was suddenly yanked upward, hard, as if a parachute had just opened. Yow. Note to self. No sudden unflurrying. One of them, harried face, fangs dripping, raised his gun. A red dot of light appeared on my torn nightgown. Not today, you jerk, I thought, veering sharply west so the sun would be in his hate-crazed eyes. I'm not going to die today. I jolted upright in bed, gasping, my hand over my heart. I couldn't help checking my nightgown. No red laser dots, no bullet holes. I fell back on my bed, limp with relief. Geez, I hated that dream. It was always the same. Running away from the school, being chased by erasers and dogs, me falling off a cliff, then suddenly whoosh, wings, flying, escaping. I always woke up feeling a second away from death. Note to self, give subconscious a pep talk. Better dreams. It was chilly, but I forced myself out of my cozy bed. I threw on clean sweats. Amazingly, Nudge had put the laundry away. Everyone else was still asleep. I could have a few minutes of peace and quiet, get a jump on the day. I glanced out the hall windows on the way to the kitchen. I loved this view. The morning sunlight breaking over the crests of the mountains, the clear sky, the deep shadows, the fact that I could see no sign of any other people. We were high on a mountain, safe, just me and my family. And of course, here's the best part. No grown-ups. When we first moved here, Jeb Batchelor had taken care of us, like a dad. He'd saved us. None of us had parents, but Jeb had come as close as possible. 2 years ago, he disappeared. I knew he was dead. We all did. But we didn't talk about it. Now we were on our own. Our house was shaped like a letter E turned on its side. The bars of the E were cantilevered on stilts over a steep canyon, so if I looked out a window, I felt like I was floating. On a cool scale from 1 to 10, this house was an easy 15. Here, my family and I could be ourselves. Here, we could live free. I mean, literally free. As in, not in cages. A long story. More on that later. We don't go to school either, so thank God for the internet. Because otherwise, we wouldn't know nothing. But no school, no doctors, no social workers knocking on our door. It's simple. If no one knows about us, we stay alive. I was rustling around for food in the kitchen when I heard sleepy shuffling behind me.
Morning, Max.
Morning, Gazzy, I said as the heavy-lidded 8-year-old slumped at the table. I rubbed his back and dropped a kiss on his head. He'd been the gas man ever since he was a baby. What can I say? That child has something funky with his digestive system. A word to the wise, stay upwind. The gas man blinked up at me, his gorgeous blue eyes round and trusting.
What's for breakfast?
He asked, sitting up, his fine blonde hair sticking up all over his head, reminding me of a fiendling's downy feathers. It's a surprise, I said, since I had no idea.
I'll pour the juice.
The gas man offered, and my heart swelled. He was a sweet, sweet kid, and so was his little sister. He and 6-year-old Angel were the only blood siblings among us, but we were all family anyway. Soon, Iggy, tall and pale, slouched into the kitchen. Eyes closed, he fell onto our beat-up couch with perfect aim. The only time he had trouble being blind was when one of us forgets and moves the furniture or something. "Hey, Ig, rise and shine," I said.
Bite me.
He mumbled sleepily. "Fine," I said, "miss breakfast." I looked in the fridge with naive hope. Maybe the food fairies had come. When the back of my neck prickled, I straightened quickly and spun around. "Will you quit that?" I said. Fang always appeared silently like that, out of nowhere, like a dark shadow come to life. He regarded me calmly, dressed and alert, his dark, overlong hair brushed back. He was 4 months younger than me, but 4 inches taller.
Quit what?
He said calmly.
Breathing?
I rolled my eyes. You know what. With a grunt, Iggy staggered upright.
I'll make eggs.
He announced. I guess if I was more of a thumbbutt, it would bother me that a blind guy 6 months younger than I am could cook better than I could. But I'm not, so it didn't. I surveyed the kitchen. Breakfast was well underway. Fang, you set the table. I'll go get Nudge and Angel. The 2 girls shared the last small bedroom. I pushed the door open to find 11-year-old Nudge asleep, tangled up in her covers. She was barely recognizable with her mouth shut, I thought wearily. When she was awake, we called it the Nudge Channel. All Nudge, all the time. "Hey, sweetie, up and at 'em," I said gently, shaking her shoulder. "Breakfast in 10. Nudge blinked, her brown eyes struggling to focus on me.
What?
She mumbled. "Another day," I said. "Get up and face it." Groaning, Nudge levered herself into a crumpled but technically upright position. Across the room, a thin curtain concealed one corner. Angel always liked cozy spaces. Her bed, tucked behind the curtain, was like a nest, full of stuffed animals, books, most of her clothes. I smiled and pulled the curtain back. "Hey, you're already dressed," I said, leaning over to hug her.
Hi, Max.
Angel said, tugging her blonde curls out of her collar.
Can you do my buttons?
I'd never told the others, but I just loved Angel. Maybe because I'd taken care of her practically since she was a baby. Maybe because she was just so incredibly sweet and loving herself.
Maybe because I'm like your little girl.
Said Angel, turning around to look at me.
But don't worry, Max. I won't tell anybody. Besides, I love you best too.
She threw her skinny arms around my neck and planted a somewhat sticky kiss on my cheek. I hugged her back hard. Oh yeah, that's another thing special about Angel. She can read minds.
I want to go and pick strawberries today.
Angel said firmly, scooping up a forkful of scrambled eggs.
They're ripe now. Okay, Angel. I'll go with you,
said the gas man. Just then, he let rip one of his unfortunate occurrences and giggled. "Oh, geez, Gazzy," I said disapprovingly.
Gas mask.
Icky choked out, grasping his neck and pretending to suffocate.
I'm done.
Fang said, getting up quickly and taking his plate to the sink.
Sorry.
The gas man said automatically, but he kept eating.
Yeah, Angel,
Said Nudge.
I think the fresh air would do us all good. I'll go too.
We'll all go, I said. Outside it was beautiful, clear and cloudless, with the first real heat of May. We carried buckets and baskets as Angel led us to a huge patch of wild strawberries. She held my hand.
If you make a cake, I can make strawberry shortcake.
She said happily.
Yeah, that'll be the day. When Max makes a cake.
I heard Iggy say.
I'll make it, Angel.
I whirled. Oh, thank you, I exclaimed. Okay, I'm not a fabulous cook, but I can still kick your butt, and don't you forget it. Iggy was laughing, holding his hands in denial. Nudge was trying not to laugh. Even Fang was grinning. And the gas man looked mischievous. Was that you? I asked Gazzy. He grinned and shrugged, trying not to look too pleased with himself. The gas man had been about 3 when I realized he could mimic just about any sound or voice. I'd lost count of how many times Iggy and Fang had almost come to blow over stuff Gazzy had said in their voices. It was a dark gift, and he wielded it happily. It was just another weird ability. Most of us had them. Whatever they were, they sure made life more interesting. Next to me, Angel froze and screamed. Startled, I stared down at her, and in the next second, men with wolfish muzzles, huge canines, and reddish glinting eyes dropped out of the sky like spiders. Erasers! And it wasn't a dream. There was no time to think. Jeb had trained us not to think, just to act. I launched myself at an eraser, spinning and planting a hard, roundhouse kick in the barrel of his chest. His breath went oof, and the odor was just awful, like raw sewage left out in the hot sun. After that, it was like a movie, a bunch of superimposed images that hardly seemed real. I landed another blow, then an eraser punched me so hard that my head snapped around, and I felt a burst of blood in my mouth. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Fang holding his own against an eraser, until 2 more ganged up on him, and he went down under flailing clawed hands. Iggy was still upright, but one eye was already swelling shut. Beyond shock, I scrambled to my feet, then saw the gas man out cold, lying face down on the ground. I leapt towards him only to be grabbed again. 2 erasers pinned my arms behind my back. Another leaned in, his reddish eyes glinting with excitement, his jaw fully morphed out and snout-like. He pulled back his hand and curled it into a fist. Then he brought it hard, punching me in the stomach. An unbelievable pain exploded inside me, and I doubled over, dropping like a stone. Dimly, I heard Angel screaming, and Nudge crying. Get up, I told myself, trying to suck in air. Get up! As weird as mutant kids were much, much stronger than regular grown-up humans. But erasers aren't regular grown-up humans, and they outnumbered us as well. We were dog meat. I struggled to my hands and knees, trying not to retch. I staggered to my feet, bloodlust in my eyes, ready to kill. 2 erasers held Nudge's hands and feet. They swung her hard, and she went sailing, hitting her head against the tree. I heard a small, pained cry, and then she laid crumpled among the pine needles. With a hoarse, blood-muffled shout, I ran up and clapped my cupped palms around an eraser's fuzzy ears. He shrieked as his eardrums popped, and he fell on his knees.
Max!
Angel screamed, high-pitched and terrified, and I spun around. An eraser had her by the arms, and I raced forward, jumping over Iggy, who now lays unconscious. 2 erasers fell on me, knocking me down, one pressing a heavy knee into my chest. I wheezed and struggled, and one of them cuffed my face hard, his ragged claws digging deep welts in my cheek. Dizzily, I fell back, the 2 erasers pinning me, and with uncomprehending horror, I saw 3 other erasers stuffing Angel, my baby, into a rough sack. She was crying and screaming, and one of them hit her. Frantically struggling, I tried to scream, but could only make a hoarse, choked cry. "Get off of me, you stupid freakin'!" I choked, but I was slammed back again. An eraser leaned over me, smiling horribly.
Max.
He said, and my stomach clenched. Did I know him?
Good to see you again.
He went on conversationally.
You look like crap. You always did act so much better than everyone else, so this cheers me up.
"Who are you?" I gasped, feeling cold at the center of my being. The eraser grinned, his long, sharp teeth barely fitting his jaw.
You don't recognize me. I guess I've grown some.
My eyes went wide with sudden, horrified recognition. "Ari," I whispered, and he laughed like a mad person. Then he stood up. I saw his huge black boot come at my head. I felt my head jerk to one side, and everything went black. My last thought was disbelief. Ari was Jeb's son. They made him into an eraser. He was 7 years old.
Max?
The gas man's voice was very young and very scared. I heard a horrible low moan, then realized it had come from me. The gas man and Fang were leaning over me, concerned expressions on their bruised, bloodied faces. "I'm okay," I croaked, having no idea if I was or not. Memory came rushing back, and I tried to sit up. "Where's Angel?" My voice was strained. Fang's dark eyes met mine.
She's gone. They took her.
I thought I might faint again. I remember being 9 years old, looking out the wired glass lab window, watching the erasers in the semi-darkness. The Whitecoats had released chimpanzees onto the school grounds and let newly made erasers loose after them, teaching them how to hunt. The sounds of the chimpanzees screeching in terror and pain still echoed in my mind. That is who has Angel now. Rage overwhelmed me. Why couldn't they have taken me instead? Why take a tiny kid? Maybe I would have had a chance. Maybe. Shakingly, I got to my feet. My head was spinning, and I had to lean against Fang, hating my weakness. "We've got to get her before they..." Horror-filled images flashed through my mind. Angel being chased, being hurt, being killed. I gulped, shutting them down. "Check in, guys. Are you up for a chase?" I examined the 4 of them. They looked like they'd been stuffed into a blender set on chop.
Yes?
Ned said in a tear-choked voice.
I'm up.
Said Iggy, a split lip making his voice thick. The gas man nodded solemnly at me. To my horror, hot tears momentarily blurred my vision. I wiped them away with the back of one hand and called on Fury to keep me going. Just then, Iggy cocked his head slightly. It was a clue for me to start listening intently. Then, I heard it too. A faint engine noise.
There.
Iggy said pointedly. The 5 of us ran stiffly and clumsily towards the sound. 100 yards through the woods brought us to a sharp drop-off above an old, unused logging road. Then I saw it. A black Humvee, dull with dust and mud, bumping roughly over the unpaved road. My heart pounded. I just knew, that my little one, my angel, was inside, and she was on her way to a place where death came as a blessing. It wasn't going to happen. Not while I was breathing. "Let's go get her," I cried, then backed up about 10 feet. The others scurried out of my way as I ran to the edge and simply jumped out into space. I started to fall towards the road. Then I unfurled my wings fast, catching the wind, and I began to fly. You see, that nightmare I had is actually hard to tell apart from my real life. My friends and I really did used to live at a stinking cesspool of evil called the school. We were created by scientists, white coats who grafted avian DNA onto our human genes. Jeb had been a white coat, but he'd felt sorry for us, cared about us, and kidnapped us away from there. We were bird kids, a flock of 6, and the erasers wanted to kill us. Now they had 6-year-old Angel. I gave a strong push down and then up, feeling my shoulder muscles working to move my 13-foot wingspan. I banked sharply, heading after the Humvee. A quick glance back revealed that Nudge had jumped out after me. Then Iggy, the gas man, and Fang. In tight formation, we swerved down towards the car. Fang snatched a dead branch off a tree. He dropped straight down and smashed it against the Humvee's front windshield. The vehicle swerved, a window rolled down, a gun barrel poked out. Around me, trees started popping with bullets. The smell of hot metal and gun smoke filled the air. I looped back into the tree lines, still tracking the car. Fang smashed the windshield again. Bullets split from several windows. Fang wisely surged away. "Angel!" I screamed. "We're here! We're coming for you!"
Up ahead.
Called Fang, and I saw a clearing maybe 200 yards away. Through the trees, I could barely see the greenish outline of a chopper. The Humvee was bouncing heavily over the rutted road. I met Fang's eyes, and he nodded. Our chance was when they moved Angel from the car to the chopper. It all happened so fast, though. The Humvee braked, awkwardly sliding in the mud. The door bursted open, and an eraser sprung out. Fang dropped on him, then recoiled with a yell, his arm dripping blood. The eraser sped towards the chopper, throwing himself through the open hatch. A second eraser, showing his huge yellow canines, leaped from the car and hurled something into the air. Shouting, Nudge grabbed Iggy's hand and then pulled backward fast, as a grenade exploded in front of them, spewing chunks of metal and tree bark everywhere. The chopper's rudder was picking up speed, and I shot out from behind the trees. They were not going to get my baby. They were not taking her back to that place. Ari jumped out of the car, carrying the sack with Angel in it. I tore towards the chopper, fear and desperate anger making my blood sing. Ari threw Angel's sack through the open door. He jumped in behind, an incredible athlete himself. With a furious roar, I sprang up and caught hold of the chopper's landing skid, just as it took off. The metal was hot from the sun and too wide to hold. I hooked one arm over it, trying to steady myself. The massive downdraft from the rotors almost snapped my wings in half. I pulled them in, and the erasers laughed, pointing at me as they closed the glass hatch. Ari was right there. He picked up a rifle and aimed it at me.
Let me tell you a secret, old pal, old chap.
Ari yelled at me.
You've got it all wrong. We're the good guys.
Angel, I whispered near tears. Ari's claws tightened on the trigger. He would do it, and dead, I would be no use to anybody. My heart breaking, I let go, falling fast, just as I saw a small, tousled blonde head shake itself free of the sack. My baby flying away towards her death. And trust me on this, things much worse than death. We all have great vision, raptor vision. So we had the excruciating pain of watching the helicopter take Angel away for much longer than the average person. My throat closed with a sob. Angel, whom I had cared for since she was a baby with goofy chicken wings. I felt like they had chopped my own right wing off, leaving a ragged, gaping wound.
They have my sister!
The gasman howled, throwing himself down. He'd always tried so hard to be a tough guy, but he was only 8, and he'd just seen his sister kidnapped by the hounds of hell. He pounded the dirt with his fist, and Fang knelt next to him, one arm tenderly around his shoulder.
Max, what are we gonna do?
Nedge's eyes were swimming with tears. She was bruised and bloody, her fists clenching and unclenching anxiously.
They have Angel!
Suddenly, I knew I was going to implode. Without a word, I pushed off from the ground, wings out, taking off as fast as I could. I flew out of sight, out of the others' hearing. Ahead was a huge Douglas fir, and I landed ungracefully on one of its upper branches, maybe 175 feet in the air, scrabbling to catch a hold because I had overshot. Gasping, I clung to the limb. Okay, Max, think. Think! Fix this! Figure something out! My brain was flooded with too much thought, emotion, confusion, rage, pain. I needed to get a grip. But I couldn't get a grip. It was like I had lost my little sister, and like I had lost my little girl. Oh God, Angel. Angel! Angel! Yelling as loud as I could, I made a fist and punched the chunky bark of the fir tree hard, over and over, until finally actual pain seeped into my searing consciousness. I stared at my knuckles, saw the blood, the missing skin, the splinters. The physical pain hurt much less than the mental kind. My Angel, my baby, had been snatched away. She was with bloodthirsty men, wolf mutants eager for her blood, who'd turn her over to despicable lab geeks who wanted to take her apart, literally. Then I was crying, clinging to the tree as if it were a lifeboat from the Titanic. And I sobbed and sobbed until I thought I'd make myself sick. Gradually, the sobs slowed to shudders, and I wiped my face on my shirt, leaving streaks of blood. I sat in the tree until my breath calmed, and my brain was hitting on most cylinders again. My hands were killing me, though. Note to self, stop punching inanimate objects. Okay. It was time to go down and be strong, to get everyone together, to come up with Plan B. And one other thing. Ari's last words were still screaming in my brain.
We're the good guys.
I don't even remember flying home. I felt heartbroken and numb. And when we walked into the kitchen, the first thing I saw was Angel's breakfast plate on the table. Iggy howled and swept his hands across the kitchen counter, catapulting a mug through the air. It hit Fang in the side of the head.
Watch it, idiot.
He yelled at Iggy furiously. Then he realized what he'd said, clenched his teeth, and rolled his eyes at me in frustration. Tears were streaming down my cheeks, their salt stinging where the eraser had raked me with his claws. Moving automatically, I got the first aid kit and started cleaning the gas man's scrapes and cuts. I looked around. Nudge's cheek was bleeding. Some shrapnel had burned her as it flew past. For once, she wasn't talking. She was curled up on the couch, crying. The gas man glanced up at me. How'd you let this happen, Max? I was asking myself the same question. True, I'm the leader. I'm Max the Invincible. But I'm also just a 14-year-old kid. Every once in a while, like when I realize all over again that Jeb is gone forever, that we're on our own, that the others depend on me and I can't let them down, well, that's when it all gets to me. Suddenly, I'm a little kid again, wishing Jeb were back. Or even, hey, wishing I was normal or had parents. Yeah, right.
You watch it!
Iggy shouted at Fang.
What happened? I mean, you guys can see, can't you? Why couldn't you get Angel?
They had a chopper
The gas man yelled, squirming out of my reach.
and guns. We're not bulletproof.
Guys! I yelled. We're all upset, but we're not the enemy. They're the enemy. I stuck the last band-aid on the gas man and started pacing. Just be quiet for a minute so I can think, I added more calmly. It wasn't their fault Angel was gone. It was their fault the kitchen looked like it belonged to a family of hygiene-challenged jackals, but I would deal with that later, whenever that kind of thing became important again, if ever. Iggy moved to the couch and almost sat on Nudge. She scooted to one side, and when he sat down, she put her head on his shoulder. He stroked her hair.
Take deep breaths.
The gas man advised me, looking concerned. I almost burst into tears again. I had let his sister get kidnapped, failed to save her, and he was worried about me. Fang was darkly silent. His eyes watched me as he opened a can of ravioli and picked up a fork with a heavy bandaged hand.
You know, if they just wanted to kill her, or kill all of us, they could have.
Nudge said shakingly.
They had guns. They wanted Angel alive for some reason. And they didn't care if we were alive or not. I mean, they didn't go out of their way to make sure we were dead, is what I'm saying. So that makes me think we have time to go after Angel again.
But they were in a chopper.
Said the gas man.
They're way gone. They could be anywhere.
His lower lip trembled, and he clenched his jaw.
Like China or something.
I went over and ruffled his already ruffled blonde hair. I don't think they took her to China, Gazi.
We know where they took her.
Fang's calm words fell like stones. He scraped the bottom of the can with his fork.
Where's that?
Iggy asked, raising his head, his blind eyes bloodshot with unshed tears. The school. Fang and I said at the same time. Well, as you can imagine, that went over like a ton of freaking bricks. Nudge gasped, her hand over her mouth, her eyes wide. The gas man looked scared, then tried to wipe it off his face. Iggy's spine tightened, his face like ice. When he'd been at the school, they tried to surgically enhance his night vision. Now, he is blind forever. Oops.
They took Angel back to the school?
The gas man asked, confused. I think so, I said, trying to sound together and leaderly, as if I weren't screaming with panic inside.
Why?
Nudge whispered.
After 4 years, I thought maybe they'd forgotten.
They want us back.
We'd never really talked about this. It was like out of sight, out of mind. Actually, more like, let's all try to forget about when we were at the mercy of sadistic spawns of Satan, in a place that's a total hellish abomination, and ought to be firebombed. Yeah, more like that. They'll never forget about us. Jeb wasn't supposed to take us out of there, I reminded the gas man.
Jeb knew they would do anything to get us back. If anyone ever discovered what they did to us, it'd be the end of the school.
Fang explained.
Why don't we tell them?
Nudge demanded.
We could go to a TV station and tell everyone and say, look, they grew wings on us, and we're just little kids, and...
Okay, that would fix them,
Iggy interrupted.
but we'd end up in a zoo.
Well, what are we gonna do then?
The gas man was starting to sound panicky. Fang had gotten up and left the room, and now he returned, holding a sheaf of yellowed fading papers. The edges looked nibbled, and he shook some mouse poop off.
Ew.
Said Nudge, wiping her nose on her sleeve.
Ew, was that...
Here.
Said Fang, pushing the papers at me. They were Jeb's ancient printout files. After he disappeared, we cleared off his desk and shoved everything in the back of a closet so we wouldn't have to look at it all the time. We spreaded the papers out on the kitchen table. Just looking at them made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Not to mention the strong eau-de mouse. I'd rather been doing anything but. Fang started to shift through the pile. He found a large manila envelope sealed with a clump of wax. After looking at me, catching my nod, he popped the wax with his thumbnail.
What is that?
Asked the gas man.
Map.
Fang said, pulling out a faded topographical drawing.
A map of what?
Nudge leaned closer, peering over Fang's shoulder. Map of a secret facility, I said, feeling my stomach clench. I'd hope I'd never have to see it again. Never break that wax seal. In California. The school.
What?
The gas man squeaked. Iggy went even paler than normal, if possible. That's where they took Angel, I said, and that's where we have to go to get her back.
Oh.
Said Nudge, her brain hitting overdrive.
Yeah, we have to get Angel back. We can't let her stay there with them. They're monsters. They're going to do bad things to her and put her in a cage. Hurt her. But there's 5 of us, so the rest of us have to get.
I had wrapped my hand across her mouth. She peeled my fingers apart.
How far is it?
600 miles, more or less.
Fang said.
At least a 7-hour flight, not including breaks.
Can we discuss this?
Iggy asked, not turning his head.
We're way outnumbered.
No, I said, scanning the map, already working out routes, route stops, backup plans.
Can we take a vote? They had guns and a chopper.
There was an edge in Iggy's voice. Iggy, this is not a democracy, I said, understanding his fear, but unable to do anything about it. It's a macocracy. You know we have to go after Angel. You can't be thinking that we would just let them take her. The 6 of us look out for one another, no matter what. None of us is ever going to live in a cage again, not while I'm alive. I took a deep breath. But actually, Nudge, Fang, and I are going after Angel. You and the gas man, I need you to stay here, hold down the fort, on the off chance Angel escapes and makes her way home. There was a moment of dead silence.
You're so full of it.
Said Iggy, turning towards me.
That's not why you want us here. Why don't you just say it?
Tension was making my stomach hurt. I didn't have time for this. No. Angel didn't have time for this. Okay, I said, trying for a placating tone. It's true. I don't want you to come. The fact is, you're blind. And while you're a great flyer around here, where you know everything, I can't be worried about you in the middle of a firefight with the racers. Iggy's face twisted in anger. He opened his mouth but got cut off.
What about me?
The gas man squealed.
I don't care if they have guns and a chopper and erasers. She's my sister.
That's right, and if they wanted her so badly, they might want you just as bad, I pointed out. Plus, you're a great flyer, but you're 8 years old, and we're going to be logging major hours.
Jeb would never have made us stay.
Iggy said angrily.
Never. Ever.
I pressed my lips together. I was doing the best I could. Maybe not, I admitted. We'll never know. Jeb's dead. Now, everyone, get your gear together.
can't believe that I'm going back to the school. Hurry up, Max. Come and save me, hurry.
Hi guys, Haru here, and I'm the voice actor of Angel, and I really hope you enjoyed that little kind of sneak peek that I did there. And this is just a tiny little message to say that we hope you enjoyed it so far, and we want to say remember to like, comment, and subscribe, because that's how we know that you want us to carry on making videos, and we really look forward to making these for you and to see your opinions for it. So yeah, just remember to like, comment, and subscribe right down below the video. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.